If you feel like a stranger, an outsider in your own family, and they call you weird. If love always feels fleeting or too shallow, and others say you are hard to love. If your job feels suffocating, and the environment calls you lazy or unmotivated. If society feels insane to you, and the world calls you a misfit. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because you're just waiting for someone who speaks the emotional language of lifetimes. The term old soul is not a metaphor or a poetic expression. It is a real phenomenon. To be an old soul means your consciousness has cycled through many lifetimes, collected vast experiences and gained a kind of wisdom that cannot be taught in one short human existence. This wisdom radiates through your thoughts, your behavior, your presence, and your very energy. One of the most immediate signs that someone is an old soul is an unexplainable sense of being different. From an early age, many old souls feel as though they do not belong to the time or place in which they live. They look around and feel as though they are witnessing life from a distance, like an observer rather than a participant. This is not disconnection, it is recognition. The world, in its fast pace and obsession with materialism, often feels hollow to the old soul, who yearns for depth, authenticity, and meaning. Psychologically, old souls often display profound introspection. They question life not just to understand it, but to feel it more fully. They're not content with surface answers. Even as children, they ask questions like, "Why are we here?" Or "What happens after we die?" These are not questions they learned. They are questions remembered. Their minds are often quiet, but their hearts are loud with knowing. They value solitude, not because they are antisocial, but because silence allows them to listen to the voice of their soul more clearly. Empathy is another deep marker of the old soul. They can walk into a room and feel the emotions of others before a word is spoken. This empathy often comes with emotional fatigue because they absorb not just feelings, but energy. An old soul can feel drained in crowds or among people who are emotionally chaotic. They may be drawn to healing roles, whether professionally or naturally. They are the ones others come to for advice, even when they don't quite understand why they trust them so deeply. Spiritually, old souls often gravitate toward ancient teachings. While others may chase trends, old souls are drawn to timeless wisdom. They may feel a strange familiarity when reading spiritual texts or hearing the words of mystics from long ago. They do not need to be taught how to meditate or pray. These practices feel as though they've been doing them for centuries. Even if they were raised without any spiritual structure, they often independently discover their own path, guided by an inner compass that always points toward truth. Energetically, old souls carry a dense vibrational field. Their aura feels calm, grounded, and magnetic. People often say they feel safe or seen in the presence of an old soul. There is an unspoken trust they inspire in others. This is because their soul energy has ripened through lifetimes of experience. While young souls tend to seek recognition, validation, and stimulation, old souls are content simply being. They have nothing to prove and nothing to chase, because they remember that all things are temporary and that truth, love, and presence are the only real currencies. Interestingly, old souls often carry wounds from past incarnations. These wounds show up in this life as deep fears, recurring dreams, or unexplained sadness. An old soul might have a fear of drowning, though they've never been near the sea. Or they may carry grief that has no origin in this life. These are soul scars, echoes from experiences in previous incarnations. They are not weaknesses. They are invitations to heal across time. There are also old souls who carry karmic completion energy. These are individuals who feel as if this may be their final life on earth. They experience a quiet urgency to understand everything, to forgive deeply, and to love without conditions. They often undergo a spiritual awakening early in life, which propels them into decades of inner work. These souls are preparing not for death, but for release from the reincarnational cycle itself. Philosophers like Plato and mystics like Rumi all hinted at the existence of such souls. Carl Jung, the renowned depth psychologist, referred to the self as something eternal and archetypal, suggesting that behind the ego is a consciousness. far older than the individual. Alan Watts spoke of the soul as the universe experiencing itself in endless forms. And in the East, sages like Sri Ramana Maharshi taught that the soul in its purest form is not separate from the divine. It is simply wearing different masks across lifetimes. To recognize yourself as an old soul is not to elevate yourself. It is not superiority. In truth, being an old soul can be lonely, heavy, and filled with the grief of 1,000 forgotten lifetimes. But it is also a gift, a sacred responsibility. The old soul's task is not only to remember who they are, but to guide others home through their quiet example. The question, how many lives have I lived, is not simply a curiosity. It is a soul ache, a deep yearning to place oneself in the vast cosmic narrative, to understand one's spiritual age and to uncover the meaning behind one's unique struggles, gifts and dreams. Though no system can offer absolute certainty, because the soul is more vast than any number, there are profound and reliable methods that can bring you closer to this ancient truth. The first key to discovering how many lives your soul has lived is to understand the texture of your consciousness. An old soul often carries a density of perception. There is a richness to their emotional landscape, a kind of weathered beauty in how they process joy and pain. If your reflections are layered, if your grief feels older than your years, if you move through life with a sense of déjà vu, the sense that you have lived this all before, it is very likely that your soul has cycled through many lifetimes. There are also energetic signs which may not be immediately understood through logic, but can be felt. Ancient yogic teachings speak of samskaras, deep impressions carried within the causal body, the layer of your soul that survives death and rebirth. These samskaras influence not only your inclinations and fears, but also your spiritual weight. A soul that has incarnated hundreds of times often exudes a gravitational presence. People pause around them. Strangers tell them their secrets. Animals are drawn to them. Children stare into their eyes as if recognizing something ancient and sacred. One of the most telling clues lies in what you were drawn to without explanation. Have you ever found yourself obsessed with a certain time period? Ancient Egypt, Renaissance Italy, feudal Japan, as if you lived there? Have you ever spoken phrases or written in styles that felt foreign yet strangely familiar? These are soul fragments reactivating. The more lifetimes you've lived, the more fragments you carry. These fragments emerge when you are relaxed, dreaming, creating, or in altered states of consciousness. Many spiritual traditions also teach that your current level of inner peace is one of the clearest markers of soul maturity. Young souls are often reactive, driven by desire and addicted to approval. They resist silence and struggle with surrender. Older souls, even amid chaos, often display a quiet resilience and a capacity for joy that does not depend on outer conditions. They are less interested in material accumulation and more interested in meaning. This shift in what you value and how you respond to life's lessons speaks volumes about how many lifetimes your soul has already processed. Another profound way to access the number of your incarnations is through past life regression therapy. Practiced carefully and ethically, regression allows the subconscious mind to bypass the veil of forgetting and retrieve images, emotions, and narratives from previous lifetimes. Some people uncover 1 or 2 lifetimes, others retrieve dozens. These sessions often reveal repeating themes such as abandonment, betrayal, war, devotion, healing that recur across lifetimes until their karmic charge has been released. In more advanced mystical circles, there are Akashic record readings. The Akasha is said to be a dimension of light, where the history of every soul is stored like a divine library of consciousness. Trained readers, often through prayer or channeling, can access your soul's records and provide insights into how many lives you've lived, what themes dominate your incarnations, and where your soul is headed. While such readings vary in accuracy, depending on the practitioner, those who are truly attuned can offer stunning confirmations of what your soul has always known, but struggled to articulate. The number of lives a soul lives is not random. It corresponds with the lessons it has chosen, the karma it must resolve, and the sacred contracts it has made before entering each body. Some souls choose hundreds of short lives, often marked by poverty, illness, or trauma, not as punishment, but as rapid pathways of purification. Others live fewer but longer lives filled with responsibilities, public roles, and spiritual leadership. Neither path is superior. They are simply different blueprints in the soul's architecture of growth. You may also observe recurring soul themes, patterns of behavior, emotional loops, or life events that seem to circle back no matter how much you try to escape them. If you feel as though you are born into the same storyline again and again, it is because you likely are. These themes are signatures of unresolved karmas and serve as indicators of the work your soul has been revisiting across many incarnations. And then there is intuition, the soul's own voice. When you sit quietly and ask yourself, "How old is my soul?" and you allow the silence to answer, you may feel a number rise in your awareness. This number may not be exact, but it carries resonance. If it feels like truth in your bones, it often is. The soul remembers what the mind forgets. All you must do is listen without expectation or fear. Understanding how many lives you've lived is not about feeding the ego or accumulating mystical status. It is about context. It helps you understand why you are the way you are, why certain things come naturally, why some wounds feel deeper than logic allows, and why you are drawn to certain people and paths. It gives you clarity, compassion, and courage. Clarity to see your story clearly, compassion for your own evolution, courage to walk the next step, knowing it is part of a much larger journey. Another expression of soul memory appears in unexplained fears and phobias. A child may panic at the sight of fire, though never having been burned. An adult may experience irrational terror when flying, despite having no traumatic experience in the sky. These fears often have no basis in this life because their roots reach into another. A soul that drowned in a previous life may now fear the ocean. A soul that suffered war may fear loud noises. These are not merely psychological. They are energetic imprints that the soul has carried through the threshold of rebirth. The same principle applies to natural talents that seem to appear out of nowhere. A person who has never studied music may sit at a piano and play with emotional depth. A young child may begin speaking a language they've never learned. A teenager may feel drawn to ancient cultures and start painting symbols they've never seen. These are not accidents. These are memories surfacing, skills re-emerging from a past life. The soul never forgets what it has mastered. It simply waits for the right conditions to awaken that knowledge again. Soul memories often show up in dreams, unlike the fragmented symbolic dreams of the subconscious. Soul dreams are vivid, coherent, and emotionally charged. You may find yourself in a city you've never visited, yet you know every street. You may dream of a life in a different time period, wearing clothes, speaking a language, and feeling emotions that don't belong to your current identity. These dreams are not just stories. They are snapshots, glimpses into lifetimes your soul once lived. And they are often triggered when your soul is ready to process or integrate something unresolved from that time. Recurring patterns in relationships are another profound indicator of past life memory. Have you ever met someone and felt an immediate and intense bond, either love, distrust, or even pain? That is often because your soul recognizes them. Souls travel in groups, called soul families, and tend to reincarnate together in different roles to resolve karma and deepen their connection. A lover in one life may return as a parent in the next. An enemy may return as a teacher. These connections are not random. They are purposeful. The intensity you feel towards certain people is the soul remembering what the mind has not. There is also something called spontaneous past life recall, which happens without hypnosis or therapy. Children, especially before the age of 7, sometimes speak of past lives with uncanny detail. They may describe cities, names, or events they could never have learned in this life. These cases have been extensively documented by researchers, such as Dr. Ian Stevenson, who studied thousands of children. across cultures who remembered accurate and verifiable past life details. These are not fantasy. They are soul memory manifesting clearly before the veil of forgetting has fully descended. Sometimes past life memories are triggered by travel. A person might arrive in a country they've never been to and suddenly feel overwhelmed with emotion. They may instinctively know the streets, the food, the smells, the sky. That feeling of coming home when stepping into a foreign land is often the soul, responding to a place it once called home. Architecture, landscapes, even the air can stir the deepest layers of soul recognition. The process of soul memory is often subtle. It does not scream, it whispers. It shows up in intuition, in tears we cannot explain, in fascinations that seem to make no sense, and in longings that cannot be satisfied by anything in this world. These echoes of other lives do not come to confuse us, they come to complete us. They are invitations. When we listen to them, when we honor them, we begin to remember who we truly are. Not just a name, not just a body, not just a personality, but a soul with ancient roots and unfinished stories.